fired in Chicago. We're seeing the violence start to escalate quite extensively. Just like we talked about, probably going to see a lot of military go into multiple cities going forward. We're definitely, I believe, going to lose a lot of cities, right? And we've talked about that as well. So we're going to look at this. The military, unless they expand quite massively, start rolling down some of these streets with tanks and armored vehicles and so forth, Marines, we're going to see these cities basically destroyed, right? And, you know, another way to look at this is we could just wall these cities off, but I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe some of them, kind of like, you know, Escape from New York, where, you know, they basically, Snake Plissken goes in to rescue a plane. Their plane went down, and there's like I think like the governor or something of New York that was on the plane. So Snake Plissken, he's got a patch over his eye, and he goes in, he's badass. It's like people are like, Snake, I thought you were dead. Like, Snake Plissken, I thought you was dead. So that's what we're going to see in a lot of these cities. We'll see potentially some of these cities basically boxed in, basically no one allowed to leave unless they have certain, you know, like military vehicles. Because even in that movie Escape from New York, they had a hard time getting out of New York. You know, so we'll see. I think it's a crisis. It's tough. We're seeing the same crisis around the world, pretty much, especially in Europe, France right now. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Pretty crazy stuff. And, you know, it's tough. It's tough right now for Americans because, you know, we think of, you know, Americans as, you know, we're all one nation, but unfortunately that's not the case anymore. We've had a lot of people that have come in that have, you know, taken over. Our country basically is run pretty much as a corporation. That's President Trump, I think, is trying to take that down. But you have every state pretty much to a great extent. You have a federal part of the state based on the Constitution. And then behind the scenes, you have a second state that is basically a corporate state. And a lot of the stuff that's going on right now, they profit from the violence and from the people that are, you know, causing the problems. So the corporate side of the state wants this to continue, but those of us that are part of the federal side want it to stop. So there's this facade for each state that we uphold the Constitution, but that has been thrown out by a lot of states. California, Portland, Washington State, Washington D.C., a lot of cities within a lot of these states that are Democrat run have basically thrown out the Constitution, and they use the goodwill and the good intent of Christians and you know, Americans that love our country, and they're working that against us. All right, so let's go. Let's jump into this. Let's see what's going on out there in Portland. It's getting pretty bad. It's not going to get any better until we see the military roll in there. Of course, the governor and the mayor of Portland both are against federal troops coming in. So there's like a stalemate in a lot of these cities. Same thing in Chicago. Chicago is really going downhill very quickly. There's been shots that have been fired in Chicago at ICE agents. ICE agents had to fire back. Somebody got out. They boxed in ICE agents with like 10 different cars, and somebody got out with an assault rifle and started shooting. And so ICE agents had to shoot back. The police ran. They fled from the scene. So we're going to have military come in, guys. We're seeing, like in Portland, the police there are in cahoots with with Antifa. So again, like I'm saying, there is a corporate side that benefits from this illegal activity, as we know, drug trafficking, the crimes and all that kind of stuff that's going on in these cities. It's benefiting from this. So they're releasing these criminals back into neighborhoods and so forth. And some of these criminals are horrific. Like we'll talk about in Kentucky, where they let a man go after just a few years, like 4 years in prison, who broke into a house and stabbed a little boy to death with a knife in Kentucky, another Democrat-run governorship, and his sister watched in horror and as she was stabbed and then thrown like 12 feet. So the father came in and tried to intervene. He was stabbed and thrown. And this guy is out now after just 4 years. So we have lawlessness and criminality in a lot of these states run by Democrats that is reaching epic proportions. So it's going to increase. We've talked about this. You're going to have to accept that it's coming. Now let's watch a little bit of this. This is Portland, tear gas and arrest Portland ICE facility. This is getting worse and worse and worse. And we'll go into a little bit more of this, but this is right now. So that looks like a lot of fun, right? So we're going to see this happen in a lot of cities, and a lot of people believe that if they're in a rural city, they're going to be safe. Not so much, right? Now we're going to have Juan O'Savin come on tomorrow at some point and talk about some of this. But I think that we're seeing the beginning of the escalation that we talked about for years, that this was coming. I predicted this 5 years ago, and now it's starting to come to fruition. It will escalate as time moves forward. It will get a lot worse, and that's because we've let the Democrats come in and take over. And yeah, Alan looks peaceful to you, right? So that's the way I am. I'm like, I've seen a lot worse. So yeah. So F around and find out. But, when you have the police force that are arresting people that are for ICE, that are counter protesting, not being violent, that get attacked, they're getting attacked by Antifa, and the police arrest them. I'm going to show you a video of that. So you can't have that. That's lawlessness. And it's being allowed by the police. The police are fomenting it. So those police in Portland and probably in Chicago where they ran, they fled. I can't understand that. They fled the scene when ICE agents came under fire and the crowd pressed in. They fled. So you'll have to have the police force probably replaced in some of these areas. All right. And that's not to say that these guys are bad, that they're completely for the other sides. In the case of Portland, it looks like they are. And maybe in Chicago they are. But in a see, that sun is like crazy over there. So for a great extent, look at that water out there, and that water beautiful. So we're having a nice sunny day. We've had snow and rain, snow in the higher peaks, and rain. So everything's like vibrant. So in the next several days into next week, probably this weekend especially, we may see George Floyd 2.0, like I predicted. I said when George Floyd finally ended, I said that's just training for what's coming. So we're going to see it. All right. We've seen the Antifa and the BLM, which are the brown shirts for the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party are basically the Nazi Party of America, right? So, and they keep, because like Saul Alinsky, their great, guy that basically taught the Democrats, especially Hillary Clinton and a lot of others, how to fight, the good people of America, how to take them down. So we're seeing a lot of that happening now. So it's escalating. It will continue to escalate. And now I've seen, and I'm going to point this out with some of these special agents that raided a building in Chicago. I'm looking at special forces, probably Dev Group, SEAL Team 6, and Delta level guys, right, going in and doing building clearance, right? So I've talked about this for quite some time, and Wine has talked about this a little bit as well, of how elite special forces groups are active in America. So we saw some of that in Chicago. Now we heard that in Chicago, they were like, "We'll send in the military. We got some badasses here. They're not going to do so well. Going to find out, right?" And they're already finding out. So it's going to be a war zone in Chicago, guys. I've talked about this for years. Get out of the big cities. They're going to get really, really bad, and it's going to escalate very quickly from here on. Because I said it, once the bullets start to fly, that's when it goes hot, and we're seeing the bullets starting to fly, right? So here we go. It's on, and it's not going to slow down. It's not going to slow down at all. It's going to escalate very quickly, very violently, going into the future. So Portland, in a maelstrom right now. Now I want to look at the big picture around the world, because it's not just America that's going to suffer, guys. We're already seeing this in Europe. And in Europe, as you guys know, there's no guns like we have here. And they're very, very, controlled, their police forces and so forth, by the deep state. So in Europe, the people of Europe are getting hammered right now, and it's going to get a lot worse. All right, so let's look at this. Here's this. This is Turning Point USA, front lines on the ground in Paris, France. Now I was in Paris, France for my book, The Intuitive Warrior. It was like about 20 years ago now, and it was Paris was absolutely fantastic. I was like, this is what I always thought that Paris was like, and I got to have a really good, great food, of course. French food is my favorite food. I got to see, the Eiffel Tower, all kinds of stuff. The Versailles, you name it, I did it. I was there for 2 weeks talking about my book. They invited me over to talk about The Intuitive Warrior. So it was great. Had a great time. Absolutely phenomenal city. It is a shithole now, and you're going to see it. And what caused that? Illegal immigration. What are they fighting about in all of these big cities? They're fighting for illegal immigration. This is a takeover by the deep state. This is a war.
Hernandez in front of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, France, because I've been covering the illegal immigration crisis in the United States over the last 4 years, but I wanted to come to Europe to...
So she's been in the United States for the last 4 years. I've seen some of her work. She does a really good job. She's up front with it. So she wanted to go to other, like Europe, and find out, what it's like in Europe. Now, I've said this for a while, that Europe is a lot worse because I've seen it. I've been to Europe. I saw Europe going downhill when I used to travel for the CIA, and I'd go through Europe and so forth. And then, of course, 20 years ago, like I'm talking about, Paris was magnificent, magnifique. And today it is, as you're going to see in this video, it is worse than America.
Check out how the crisis is going over here. Now, a lot of people will take you in front of the Eiffel Tower to highlight the migration crisis, but we actually have been through various parts of Paris, and to be quite honest with you guys, this crisis is a lot worse than I even expected it to be. Now, I was looking at some of the numbers, and you have about 400,000 to 500,000 both legal and illegal migrants coming into France every single year. And as you are walking around various suburbs of Paris, you very much see that. Now, first impressions of Paris. There is graffiti on every single beautiful building as you are driving from both North Paris into the heart of the city. On top of that, the city isn't the cleanest, I'll be quite honest with you guys. It's pretty stinky, lots of trash. You are very...
Now, when my wife and I were in Paris 20 years ago, it was clean. It was beautiful, no graffiti. It was very French, right? I can't believe the French have let this happen, because the French are extremely protective of their culture and heritage. They have, in just 20 years, completely let it go.
Much seeing the results of the migrant crisis on every single street corner. I mean, everywhere we've gone, every single street, you are seeing African migrants. There are also various parts of Paris in which the French people and the French culture is absolutely nowhere to be seen. We are talking entire neighborhoods, entire cultural enclaves in which you are not seeing the French or their culture represented at all. And again, I wanted to come here because we are seeing the exact same thing mirrored in the United States of America.
Yes, in the United States of America, we're seeing the same thing. Cities completely taken over by Muslim, African groups and so forth. There's no resemblance to some of these cities as being American at all. Right, so the same thing that's happening in Paris, which is far worse, as you can see here, but it is happening in America. And fortunately, it is not accelerating because President Trump has shut the border down. So in Paris, in the rest of Europe, it has not stopped. It's accelerating.
And similar to the United States, the media is absolutely covering up what is going on over here. The government is watering down.
And you see here, Europe's rape epidemic. How can they let this continue? Well, it's because the police force is compromised, like we're starting to see in Portland, like we're starting to see in Chicago, and they have allowed this to go forward. The criminal court systems are compromised, like we've seen in America, and this globalist deep state takeover of Europe has almost succeeded, guys. Europe is almost completely gone.
A lot of those numbers. Now, I've been talking to a lot of local journalists, and similar to the US, they state that, of course, the media is completely watering down what is going on over here, going so far as to change the name of migrants when crimes are committed, so that way there isn't any bad sentiment in the public view towards migrants. You also have
So for all the liberal idiots out there that believe they can take away guns and then there will be no more violence with weapons, they need to see all of the knife attacks that are happening throughout Europe now. Knives being held against people, people being knifed, like I'm talking about the one man in Kentucky that broke into a house and knifed the family. He said his intent was to kill everybody. So this is the incredible corruption and destruction of civilization by the deep state all over the world.
Of course, a large uptick in stabbings and sexual assaults related to migrants, and the French women and the French men who try to bring light to this are told that they are racist, that they are fascist, for trying to highlight these issues. So
fascist, racist, same narrative they use in the United States. If you don't agree with illegal immigration, you're a fascist, you're a racist. And so it continues. The horrific, crimes on the street, the destruction, cities basically destroyed. No one going downtown anymore. No one walking the streets of America anymore like they used to. Businesses fleeing cities all across America.
And I wanted to come on the street and not only show you the front of the Eiffel Tower, because a lot of people always come to this location. What else is going on throughout Paris? What else is going on throughout France? Because this issue is way more pervasive than anything that I was expecting to see. And it was, to be quite honest with you, pretty shocking. So we're going to be reporting Frontline's TPUSA on the ground in Europe, highlighting the illegal and legal immigration crisis and showing you the impacts to the culture, to the people, and what is really going on here, what's being hidden from the world, and how French culture is being impacted.
All right, so that's in Europe. It's accelerating in the decline. America is in decline, but will it be turned around? In some cities, it won't be, because in some cities, like Juan O'Savin has talked about, it will. Some of the main cities will be strongholds when they try and take over other cities, when they try and take over the rural areas and they're pushed back. We start to form pretty much. Groups. I'll put it that. I don't want to get shut down here, but we'll start to form groups that are armed. Right? We know what that means. Militia. Right? So when that starts, because as you guys can see, in these cities, the police are ineffective and they're running, and they're actually attacking the people that are trying to support ICE and be a counter demonstration to try and stop the extreme violence that's coming from the leftists, right? So, yeah, Yvonne, love back to you. You guys in UK, you need it, right? Starmer is trying to take your people down. All right, so you're going to have to figure out a way to push back, and I know the people of United Kingdom have done that throughout your history. So you're reaching another point where that's going to have to happen, unfortunately. So, and all throughout Europe. All right. So again, when I went overseas, it was absolutely magnificent. Like I talked about, talking about my book, The Intuitive Warrior. I noticed that my book is now available in audio, right? So CCC Publishing, made a, which I have my book now in. As you can see, this is the old book, and then CCC Publishing took it over. Now, Amazon plays games with us authors, guys, that basically push out truth. And the way they do this, and the way they did it for my other book and destroyed the other book was, basically they destroyed the company that distributed my book through a lot of this process, is they'll order massive numbers of books. And there's people probably in Amazon that are like, well, we need this. So there's probably good people in Amazon. They're like, all right, well, there's a lot of people that want this book. So let's get it going. Let's order some more. So look at this. There's only one left in stock. There's only one left in stock. Now, are they going to order like 100 or 50, 150 of them, 1,000 of them like they did before? because they were selling them like hotcakes. And then when the book comes in, then they stop, they suppress, because on Amazon, if a book is doing really well, it'll move up like my book did when I first brought it out. It was a #1 bestseller for a long time on Amazon. It was moving like crazy. And then they ordered a whole bunch of books. And then they suppressed on it, because people were telling me, I saw your book come up, and I ordered it. I'm so glad. And then they suppress it. They suppress the information about it. If, instead of it rising to the top so people can see this is like a top seller, they suppress that. And then when no one's buying a book, they ship all of those books back. And then the author has to pay for the shipping cost. And imagine 1,000 books. That's a lot, right? So that destroys authors like myself, and it destroys the book companies that ship those books, right? So this is what they do. They play these games, and they take down like my Awakening of a Warrior. There's only 4 left. So are they going to be like, okay, send us 1,000 of them, and then it'll suppress, and then that book won't move. This is the way they work it, guys. So I try to clue up my current, book company and Brad Olson, who I work with. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to work, guys, because I've had to owe this book company for well over a year. While my book sells, I would be making profit, yet they come in, they did that, and now I have to pay for all that shipping for like well over a year now, with no income coming from the book, right? So it is frustrating. Now, if you do the audio, and if you do like the Kindle version, then I make money. But if you buy the paperback, I'm going to, I want the paperback to be sold. But if you do, and Amazon plays their games again, I get screwed again, right? So this is the thing that they do. Those of us that, share this information. There's multiple ways. Now you look at Obama, who probably no one bought his book, and he made millions. So somebody bought those, put them in a warehouse, and probably burned them eventually because no one bought them. And that's a money laundering scheme. So those guys coming through Amazon and so forth, and somebody comes in, it's like, okay, this is how we pay him for all the bullshit he's done for us, for the deep state. So that's how these guys get multiple millions of dollars, like crazy amounts. Yes, there are some people that make money on books, but in the early stages, when my first book came out, my book company owed me almost $100,000. And then they went bankrupt. Yeah, it took all of my money. So it is a horrible game that is being played against people that try and get this money or get this information out and make money to be able to survive, to continue to make more books, to inform people, right? It's a tough game out there. Now, here we go with a woman shot in Chicago. So escalation. This is recent.
Escalating between protesters and ICE agents here. A woman was shot after she allegedly attempted to hit federal officers with her car. Then in Broadview, Illinois, that's about a half hour west of the city.
So whether you're trying to kill somebody with your car or with a bat or with a knife or with a rock or a bottle, it's intent to kill with a deadly weapon. So police have every right to defend themselves against deadly force. So this woman evidently was trying to kill officers with her car, and they shot her. Now, the press is probably, the lamestream leftist press obviously will take this and blow it up in another proportion. And they'll say, these are Nazis. They need to be killed. They're openly saying that now. The left is openly calling for people on the right to be killed, guys. It's getting pretty bad out there.
The Department of Homeland Security is reporting that law enforcement officers were rammed by vehicles and boxed in by 10 cars. That's where we find News Nation's Mills Hayes. Mills, what are you seeing out there today?
Hi, Kelly. Well, there are more protesters that have started to come here to this Broadview ICE facility. We know there's some more activity. Also, where that woman was shot, you mentioned that. Now, we also know that Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says that President Trump plans to federalize 100 Illinois National Guard troops to help protect ICE personnel and facilities. We expect this crowd here at the Broadview ICE facility to grow throughout the night. Now, meanwhile,
grow throughout the night. Now, this is Broadview, Illinois. This is a combat zone now, guys. Same thing in Portland. Why are they allowed to continue? The federal troops should be moving in here pretty soon. We'll see how this plays out. And then once that happens, will it blow up somewhere else? Will it start to explode somewhere else? Yes, it will.
HS is speaking out after a woman was shot by federal law enforcement officers after allegedly trying to ram Border Patrol agents with her car. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem posting on X saying, quote, members of our brave law enforcement were attacked, rammed, and boxed in by 10 vehicles, including an attacker with a semi-automatic weapon, adding that she is...
So 10 vehicles, guys. That's very coordinated. That's not random. That 10, Antifa or whoever, these probably cartel members, some of them, and maybe all of them, I don't know. But they're, coordinating this now. They're coordinated now.
Deploying more special operations to control the scene. The FBI is investigating, and the woman is in critical condition at the hospital. Protesters responding nearby the incident.
All right. So, like I said earlier, you're going to have to see armored vehicles in the streets. So that's what you're seeing right here in Chicago, and you're going to have to see more of them. You're going to see these vehicles moving through the streets, moving to areas where they know that cartel and illegal immigrants and so forth are that are very violent, and they're going to go in with these vehicles, guys. It's a war zone now, and it's going to get more intense.
About ICE activity in the area. One woman saying her son, who is a U.S. citizen.
Now, look at these women. These women think they're doing the right thing. They're brainwashed. They're brainwashed, useful idiots, guys. They're brainwashed, useful idiots. This is an extreme, liberal, often not unfortunate, but it is what it is, lesbian group of women that, really push this. And they're the ones that are openly calling for violence. Now, on the opposite side of this, remember how we had mama bears basically going into schools and stopping all of the vaccination bullshit, the masking bullshit, all of the stuff that was going on in the schools where they're, trying to push transgenderism, all kinds of crazy stuff, push transgenderism in bathrooms. That's still going on in California. Of course it is, right? I guess there's not enough good mama bears out there in California to make something happen, because you have a lot of liberal type women, evidently, that believe that should happen. So I don't know, guys. Where, there's part of me was like, well, just wall them off. Just wall off these cities. And then there's part of me is like, I know there's a lot of good people in those cities. And this is constitutionally unacceptable, what they're doing. This is not the Constitution of America. They have worked around the Constitution of America and formed basically their own corporations in these cities, and they're doing illegal activities. They're supported by illegal activities. And then they have the useful idiots like these people that create, as I've said many times, it's like we have to push through them to get to the real criminals. It's very frustrating.
Was detained earlier today by immigration officials. All of this happening after Secretary Noem's visit to the Broadview ICE facility, where protests have been intense. She did not take questions from the press. Border Patrol Commander at Large Gregory Bovino leading the arrest outside the facility on Friday. DHS says that 13.
All right, so that's where we're moving in that direction really quickly. Like I said, shots fired. ICE agents in Chicago suburb boxed in by cars. Let me share this article so you can kind of follow along a little bit. So I put this up. I did the research on this, and then that video I just showed you popped. So that's the shooting from, they had to shoot that woman that was trying to ram them and kill them in the car. All right. So it's moving very quickly. Tonight, it's probably going to be a rough night in some of these cities, guys. So shots fired. ICE agents in Chicago suburb boxed in by 10 cars. Federal agents Saturday were rammed and boxed in by 10 cars in Broadview, Illinois, near Chicago, where crowds have been gathered for days protesting U.S. immigration. So you saw the way it was there in France. They have destroyed the French culture. One of the most beautiful cultures. How long did it take the French to build that culture? Thousands of years. All right. And then I guess a couple decades, the last time I was there, they have destroyed that culture. It doesn't take them long, especially when they have the police and when they have the judicial side on their side. The deep state has infiltrated everywhere, guys. It's going to be tough to push back on this. Pritzker's, all right, so you have a governor that's a deep stater, all right? He's going to push back on these federal officers, and he has been coming into his state and trying to make it right constitutionally, because he's part of, a corporate government, deep state government that's taken over a lot of these states. So Pritzker's Chicago Police Department is leaving the shooting scene and refuses to assist us in securing the area. This is from federal ICE agents. There is a growing crowd, and we are deploying special operations to control the scene. This is going to get really bad because you have, I guess, ballless Chicago cops that have been put there on purpose. All right. I saw this in the State Department when Hillary Clinton was in charge. She put ballless, spineless men with guns that they weren't going to use, and they had a lot of problems there for a while. They would beg for us to come help them. Those of us in the area that were CIA agents, right? So that's what we're going to continue to see in these big cities. Spineless, ballless men that are supposed to be protecting us that are not going to do that, right? So that's not everywhere, and that's not all police. I salute the police that do have spines and do have cojones, right? So hopefully, there's more of them than not. But definitely in Chicago and Portland, we got some problems there, guys. And they've been infiltrated for a long time, so it's not surprising to me that they have this issue. Okay, so this is from Tricia McLaughlin. Let me share this one as well, so you guys can read along a little bit and see kind of like you can go and do your own research. You can go deeper down these rabbit holes if you want. I always recommend that so that it ingrains in you a little bit and you see how to do the process so that you become your own critical thinker and your own researcher, right? This morning, during routine patrolling in Broadview, In the same area of Chicago that law enforcement were assaulted yesterday, our brave law enforcement officers were rammed by vehicles and boxed in by 10 cars. Agents were unable to move their vehicles and exited the car. One of the drivers who ran the law enforcement vehicle was armed with a semi-automatic weapon. Law enforcement was forced to deploy their weapons and fire defensive shots. So, defensive shots. You know how we just created the War Department, Department of War? You can't be defensive now, guys. I've taught offensive shooting, offensive hand-to-hand. It's a mind state. If you go defensive, which the Democrats want their spineless, ballless men to do, be defensive, they're going to get slaughtered. And you're going to get slaughtered, because once they get through those law enforcement, they're coming for you. All right. So law enforcement was forced to deploy the weapons and fire defensive shots. It shouldn't be defensive. If someone is shooting at them, they should shoot to kill. Because if they don't kill them, they're going to come back again if they get away, or they're going to continue firing. Hello. It's real friggin' simple here. All right. So they shot at an armed U.S. citizen who drove herself to the hospital. So evidently this was a woman, all right, a liberal woman, to the hospital to get care for her wounds. She should be in a morgue somewhere. Listen to what she said. The armed woman was named in a CBP intelligence bulletin last week for doxing agents. Doxing means she's basically calling out where they live, putting pictures of the agents and all that stuff, and posting online, hey, to all my gang, let's F those mother effers up. Don't let them take anyone. Prickster's Chicago Police Department is leaving the shooting scene, like I told you earlier, and refuses to assist us in shooting and securing the area. So you have leftist women that are shooting, and the police are running for their lives. The Chicago police are running. No wonder Chicago has so many shootings, killings, shooting deaths every week. No wonder. It's pathetic. Military is going to have to go in, guys. We've said for years that military is the only way, and you're seeing why, right? You're seeing why. Protesters arrested outside Broadview ICE facility in Illinois as Governor slams Department of Homeland Security Secretary Noam's visit. Now, 18 people were arrested. Be sure to screen on this one too. So, Kristi Noem, I guess, was on the roof with her crew, surveying the scene, and she tried to go down and use the bathroom, and they wouldn't let her in to use the restroom. That's how effed up these people are in Chicago, guys. Got some real problems there. So Secretary Kristi Noem was perched on the rooftop of the controversial building, surrounded by armed agents and a camera crew. And she tried to go down and use the restroom, and they wouldn't let her. All right. What the heck is going on? Well, we know what's going on in Chicago. It's been taken over. It's not a state of a constitutional state anymore. Although they'll use that and say that if they can use that and lie and cheat and steal and continue to, their corporate side. So the deep state corporate side of Illinois is winning. It's winning right now. How long? How long will this go on? Because we see that there are options. There are definitely options. And some of us saw those more recently. And those options are people that have very strong spines and massive cojones, and they know how to move and they know how to shoot. So watch this.
This may be the most epic video I've seen of law enforcement by the United States government ever.
Okay, so when I was in SEAL Team 6, we had camera crews that would video our movements and how we would take down stuff like cruise ships, buildings, whole towns. So they videoed that so that they could get us funding, and so that the people that make decisions could see this is money well spent. All right. So watch this with that, because I'm seeing guys like me in this video. All right. So remember, they were saying that yes, send in the military. They're going to find out, because our gangs are much badder, right? So you see Tren de Aragua, which is reputably a pretty badass gang. They just found out, right? They just found out. Now we're seeing on another scale, we're seeing them pushing back on ICE. Right. So this is probably Special Forces guys, right? Special Forces Bubbas, with maybe FBI, Hostage Rescue Team, HRT, Department of Homeland Defense, and maybe some SWAT guys, good SWAT guys from Chicago. Right. So we're probably going to start to see this happening. Well, we'll maybe hear about it. Now, you didn't see a lot there. I can tell you there's a lot of stuff that went on there that you're not going to learn, because that's giving away classified information. They're just going to show you little pieces so you can see these are some bad hombres that are coming to do dirty deeds to dirty people, right? This is totally how we used to roll at SEAL Team 6. Right? So we're going to see them become, they've been activated for a long time, guys. I've been saying this. Here's your video proof. You get a little taste of it. They release this so that American public can see we're working for you. All right. But we need your help. We need your help to shut down assholes like Pritzker, Hochul, Newsom, and a lot of these assholes in a lot of these cities, big cities, guys. Even if it's in a red state, you have little blue enclaves which basically run the show for the whole state. It's disgusting. It's got to change.
Look, say what you will about government propaganda videos. Sometimes they're definitely necessary. Now, when it comes to, for example, they have those embedded videos that for the military and stuff like that. I'm not a big fan because I think that gets a little bit, oftentimes, too much into the operations side. Maybe tells our enemies things they don't need to know. But when it comes to law enforcement, I would argue that that video is extraordinarily effective. It was just I think it was a couple weeks ago, maybe not even that long ago, when I don't remember who it was, some leftist snowflake came out and said, oh, they're not going to be able to do the things they've been doing in other places. When they get to Chicago, there's this gang or that gang, or they're real, these guys are hardcore. And what you just saw, that's hardcore. Okay. There might be.
All right. Nice job from JD Rucker. He's been shut down like I've been shut down. He is out there front lines, revealing great stuff. It's good to see that, some of us are allowed to come out and talk about this stuff. Unbelievably, on my YouTube channel, it's blowing up. It's just have tremendous numbers of people coming in now. I hope it continues, guys. And then we have the backup, which is Rumble. Rumble, heavily suppressed still, unfortunately. But YouTube, I guess, got spanked. And it must be somebody in that organization, which is basically letting some of us reveal. Now, I was able to reveal for a great, I would say, a longer period of time than most people. There was a lot of people were saying, how are you still on YouTube? And I think there were some people still able to allow some of us to stay, right? So I think that has happened again, that some people have gone in and allowing some of us to come in and reveal. All right. So I don't know how long it will last. They're still attacking doctors and nurses and so forth that push back on the COVID vaccine stuff. I've had one on my show. He was on Tucker Carlson's show after he was on my show. So, we're moving this information up so that more people are getting exposed to it. If this continues, it's a good thing. But if they clamp down on it again, it's curtains for us. Right? Now, will there be 10 days of darkness? It looks like it might be moving that direction, doesn't it? With the intensity, shots being fired, and so forth. Now, the 10 days of darkness would be something where they would come out and they would reveal, yes, we're having to arrest, a lot of these governors and mayors and so forth, because they're part of a larger conspiracy to take down America. They're treasonous and so forth. I don't know if that's going to happen. It is the way it is. We know that. But, are we at the point where that operation can move forward? That remains to be seen. All right. So the 10 days of darkness, some people have come out and talked about it. It says happening this month. I'm a little shy of doing dates. They haven't worked in the past. I don't feel that we're there yet. I think there's more that has to be revealed about the deep state activities. I think there's more that has to happen as far as like them pushing and taking down and letting people see as they push, what's happening, like we're seeing in Chicago, like we're seeing in Portland. These are, popcorn eating events, where people are like, yeah, better get that popcorn because, we've talked about this. It's going to start disappearing from the shelves and just, whatever. I don't eat popcorn, so I don't care. Well, occasionally, but so I'm not eating popcorn right now. I'm on the front lines revealing. So there won't be any popcorn for me. All right, so let's look at Portland. Let's look at Portland now. Portland is pretty big problem. Has been for a long time. It was a problem all the way back in Trump's first administration. It hasn't changed. Like I've said, I was in Portland. God, how long ago was it? 30 years ago, something like 30, maybe a lot longer than that. I don't know, 40 years ago. I think like 40 years ago. Portland was an absolutely incredible, beautiful, most beautiful city in America, right? It had a sign that said, the most beautiful city in America. I remember looking at that and I was like, that's well deserved. But I saw like homeless people wandering the streets all the way back then. And I was like, why are they allowing that? And we know that it is part of the corporation. Corporation makes money off that. So they allow that to continue. It escalates. It gets worse. It gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And now here we are, 40 plus years in some of these Democrat hellhole cities, and we got to clean this bullshit up. It's not going to be easy, guys. There's well-entrenched groups, and as you guys are seeing, there are brown shirts for these leftists. There's brown shirts for these globalists, and that's the Antifa and Black Lives Matter, and the gangs, from Mexico, and the gangs from Africa, and the gangs from Cuba, and the gangs from all over the friggin' place, right? That they brought in to continue this process. Now, you're going to get pissed off right here at the Portland police, right? So, of course, Portland has allowed this stuff, like I said, to fester for decades. They don't have, unfortunately, for the most part, maybe there's a few in there, but for the most part, they have bad cops, all right, that have been put in those positions because they don't have spines and they don't have cojones, right? And if they don't have cojones and they don't have that male reproductive organ, what do they have, right? If I had Scott McKay here, he would milk toast, all right? He's very, very famous for having that. He'll say it openly. He said it many times on my show. But let's look at this. This is not very good. It's not a very good look for any city. But Portland, I guess they don't really care because they've been doing it for, like I said, decades. All right, so this guy is a pro. He's freedom. You got freedom there. He's pro-ICE. He's going around pro-ICE and, pro this, pro that, all the stuff that we love. So he's out there, doing that, and he gets arrested by the Portland police. And he was assaulted earlier.
I like him too. He's a good guy.
So here's the Portland PD. They come out. You're like, okay, they're coming out to like push back on these Antifa thugs, right? They come out to arrest that guy. He was assaulted the day before or the night before, and he became famous because he kicked some ass. He was assaulted by Antifa, and he kicked their ass. And now here he's back with his megaphone because they don't like it, because they want to have the megaphones blaring their bullshit. So he's countering them. So what do the Portland PD do? They come out and target him, arrest him.
So who did Portland PD go to? The pro-ICE guy.
And remember, in context, this is why the Portland police are being investigated, because it just so happens Katie Davis-Court, she was hit in the eye. She's a conservative, and the Portland police did not show up to help her. Nick Sorter, a conservative.
All right. So I talked about this yesterday. Nick Sorter came up afterwards, but this one journalist, transgender type, had like a anti-ICE flag, and at the end of it, it was pointing. This transgender male basically took that spike and hit her in the face with it just under her eye. Could have poked her eye out. What do the police do? Nada.
He was pushed on the ground. He was beat up. He was arrested. And now this man right here, Tommy, and rest assured, Tommy is definitely a conservative. If you go to his social media, he's very conservative. He was arrested. So this is why people are asking questions like, what are these targeted arrests? And the reason why I'm going like this is because that's what they're being called. But also, where have the Portland police been for the longest time? We know since June 22nd, they haven't been making arrests up until a few days ago. And up until a few days ago, the people being arrested were conservatives covering the story.
Of course they do. They arrest Nick Sorter last night. Now they arrest this guy. How pathetic is that? So Portland PD protects Antifa, protects the enemies of our nation, allows these criminal thugs to attack the city. They don't do anything to help ICE. And what do? They come out and arrest guys like Nick Stewart and this guy who's sitting here saying, God bless ICE.
And just so you guys know, that is the position of the Trump administration. So leave your comments down below how you feel about this position. How do you feel the Portland police are handling this situation? As somebody who's been covering this story from the very beginning, watch the raw footage.
All right, so let's go back to Nick Sorter. He has it in here. So this is T-SPLY. I just came across his site. I'm going to subscribe to him right now. He's got some good stuff going on. So he's got over 500,000 subscribers. Awesome. So people are tuning into this, guys. So this is a positive. Now, there is a biblical phrase where those that are ignorant basically are subject to, this type of environment. So we need to bring the knowledge. We need to bring information so that people wake up, understand what's happening in their communities, and start to push back and get rid of these cojones police and start to put real men in there, real women, real mama bears, and let's go to town here. Otherwise, this type of city here in Portland, which has been destroyed for decades now, is coming to all of America.
Okay, so here's the raw footage. Remember, Nick was arrested for what you're about to see. You guys leave your comments down below how you feel about it. This is what sparked this entire investigation.
I'm walking down the street. We go nowhere. Get out of here. I'll get ass up. I will ass up. Get out of here. Get out of here now.
Yeah, and then Nick was arrested for disorderly conduct. And by the way, massive shout out to Ryan who filmed this. We've been working with Ryan for the last 100 days. And by the way, Ryan is on a hit list from Antifa.
So this is Antifa's assault tally list. This is who they have assaulted. All right, so look at all the numbers for that. The one guy that was filming Antifa assaulting Nick, right? And then there's other truthers that are out there videoing this, and they've assaulted them. Here's their running tally of having assaulted truthers that are coming out there, just disclosing what's happening on the ground. Because the mainstream media is saying there's nothing going on there. The mayor is saying there's no problems there. The governor is saying there's no problems there. Because why? Because they're not a constitutional city. It is a constitutional state and city, but there is an opposite that's running parallel, which is a corporate side, which allows this because they benefit from it. All right. So this is the stuff that's going on. What's your city like? What's your state like? Are you a constitutional state? Or have you been taken over by the deep state? Our government pretty much has been, although Trump is pushing back on it very hard. The city of Washington, D.C. is a corporation, and it's run by Congress, not we the people. It's always supposed to be we the people, and then people that are in positions of political class are there at our convenience, at our discretion. And if they continue to do what we tell them to do through the Constitution, we the people, and I'm not saying Democratic we the people, where you get Antifa like that come in and run the show, because there's more of them and they're more outspoken. So they're running the city. Which do you want? You want a constitutional republic, or do you want a deep state corporation running your city? There is a difference. And we're seeing it, and we're learning it. All right. So let's go in another direction. Deep state as far as Israel. So the deep state put Israel in position. I've talked about this over and over again. Now, Jordan Maxwell has the best insights, and there's other people that are coming out that are going to bring in more information. I'm going to have some of them on my show. But listen to what Jordan Maxwell says. If you've never listened to Jordan Maxwell, you need to sit down one day and go through his videos.
There's so many subjects out there that are far, far bigger than we think they are. And a lot more to them than what we've been told. Now, when you get into theology and religion, that's very difficult, filled with minefields everywhere.
The actual formation of the state of Israel, the fact that there was stuff I'd never seen before because I wasn't looking for it, regarding the Zionist Council.
Now, I've been talking about this for a while, and now you're going to see it in writing, where it was never supposed to be in Palestine, right? They even talked about going to Japan. They talked about going to, of course, Ukraine during the Soviet era. And they talked about going to Africa. And they were almost going to go into those locations. But the Rothschilds and the New World Order, or the Masons, basically came in and said, no, you can just go in and force and take over the peaceful people of Palestine. They won't push back. They're just a bunch of farmers. And that's what they did. They came in with their guns and their tanks, and they took over, as we know, and formed the state of Israel.
That came up with the concept of, and the fact is that they chose various other lands. They were looking at possibly even settling in Alaska, Madagascar, simply to create a Jewish homeland.
The first place the Zionists picked to have their homeland was in Uganda, Africa. And they went in, they didn't say to the Ugandan government, this land is ours. God gave us this land and it's ours. They just said, we'd like to have a place to live. Would you give us part of Uganda? So we'll call it Israel. And the Ugandan government thought about it, and they said, no, we've decided, no, it's not going to work out. Go someplace else. So then they even picked a part of Texas.
Texas. Houston area. Yeah. Houston, bad.
Before they went into Palestine, they picked a place in Texas, and the Texas government said, no, we're not interested in having another state, another country within our country. We're not interested in that. The way we're set up is we're set up as a republic, and we have 48 states here. We don't need to have another country move in. It's not going to work. You know, they have many different places they kept trying to.
Okay, so they couldn't physically come in, but damned if they didn't come in through the political class.
set up a homeland here, there, and everywhere. And then they finally figured it out.
Even Japan, guys. I mean, go back and look at this. This is Lamplighter, Jordan Maxwell on the creation of Israel. Now, this keeps getting taken down, so this may not live here long. Right? So let's go back. Let's look at this. Fuga plan, Japan. They almost went with it. They almost went with it. All right. And like I said, Texas. But they also almost went to, like I said, Ukraine.
There and everywhere. And then they finally figured it out. They went to England and they talked with the Lord Rothschild and looked.
Oh, Rothschild. You mean that family that basically got super rich when they fooled everybody about Napoleon winning at the Battle of Waterloo? And he didn't, but they sold the bonds, and everybody sold the bonds the Rothschild bought them for pennies on the dollar, and then they owned the UK.
Lord Rothschild said yes, and so he was the Lord. They went to the Lord, and the Lord said, yes, I will give you a place to live. And so the Lord Rothschild said to go to the one place in the world that is the most docile country in the world. Go to Palestine. Those people are just farmers. Go in there and just rape them. Just go in and take everything and tell them God sent you. That, nobody.
Kind of like Portland, right? Portland, so smooth, so docile, such a beautiful place. Very liberal, of course. Every place where it's very liberal, no cojones, no spine, and they have these people come in and take over. And then the fighting men have to come and rescue them. I'm like, just build a friggin' wall. Let them just exterminate themselves.
Is going to argue with that. If the Lord sent you, then that's that. So just go in there and take over the country, pile in with tanks and guns and machine guns, and pile over into their country and tell them the Lord sent you.
The idea here, though, was that the Palestinians had been subjugated.
The Lord sent you, right? So you can't argue because the Lord sent the chosen people, right? This is a big fat lie. It's a big fat lie, and an honest Jew will tell you that.
By the British, the Egyptians, various other peoples had basically ruled over them, and that was just the way of things. They were constantly in this sort of position.
The most important part of this whole story has been missing since day one, and that is...
Wait for it.
Israel is a creation of the Masonic order, British Freemasonry. The Masonic order created Israel, period, and created it for a political reason, so that eventually there will come a day if the Masonic order continues to publicize the idea that the Lord is with the Jewish people, the Jews are the God's chosen people. That's all Masonic folklore, and none of it is based on factual truth. None of it. Today in Israel, there are many professors and teachers, archaeologists, paleontologists, scientists who are writing books saying that there was no ancient Israel ever existed. It's a story that has no basis in fact whatsoever. There was no ancient Israel ever. It never existed. There was no King Solomon and King David and the kings and queens and all of these wonderful names of great prophets and all of these people that we see in the Old Testament, the New Testament. None of it is history. It's all made up by secret societies and fraternal orders in Europe, which seek to establish some sort of a world government based on the idea that it is God's will, and we wouldn't want to fight against the Lord. So we don't want to fight against God and his divine will. So therefore, we all need to shut up and just accept what the British.
All right. I know probably some of you have seen this over time. I remember like folding the 20 and the 50 and the $100, and we saw all of the, like for the 20, we saw the Twin Towers, You guys remember all this? You don't remember this? Well, it was there. All right. I don't know if you can still find them on these bills, but when they're folded in a certain angle, like you see here, you can see the buildings. So they show you what they're going to do, and if you don't protest, then you've given them permission to do it.
Freemasonry has given us. They have given us what we call Israel, Isis, Ra, and El. Israel, the three names of the sun god in the ancient Middle East. Israel is a product of Freemasonry. It is a Masonic creation in this whole idea of a reestablishment of the Temple of Solomon. Right now, we're hearing a lot of information about, they're going to reestablish the Temple of.
All right. So there's a lot there, guys. I mean, you can go down these rabbit holes. I've been down a lot of them already. Rabbits, the white rabbit, right? Like in the Matrix, follow the white rabbit, right? The Playboy bunny, right? The Easter bunny, all of this stuff that, we have followed for a long time. You start to go down some of these rabbit holes, it's not pretty. It's not pretty. But you have to, because if you don't have the knowledge, then they will take advantage of you and your children and their children. Do you want that? All right. So Tucker Carlson. So Tucker Carlson is hot on this. He's hammering away at this, guys, and they're pushing back on him hard, saying that he's a bad man, all kind of stuff. That's what they do when you go after Israel.
Well, we put up with the attack on the USS Liberty that everyone's so afraid to talk about, clearly targeted on purpose by a country we're supporting, Israel. And it's somehow shameful to say that? Why? Why is it shameful to say that? Who knows why it's shameful to say that, but it shouldn't be. And until we have some self-respect, not anger or hate, but just dignity, it will continue. In June, for example, during the 12-day war, such as it was with Iran, during that short conflict, there are a bunch of Israeli Defense Force officers in the Pentagon that week. And during that week, ask anyone who works at the Pentagon, they enraged American Pentagon staff by just barging into meetings, giving orders, making demands, and nobody did anything about it. How can a foreign military officer barge into military headquarters, even if invited, but barge into a meeting and start demanding, we want this, we want that, you need to get on this? The more you allow that kind of deeply unhealthy behavior, the more you're going to get.
The more you're going to get if you don't have the knowledge of what's going on. If you don't have the knowledge of what's going on in your city, your county, your state, it will continue and it will get worse and worse and worse. It will turn into Europe. It will turn into Portland. It will turn into Chicago. It will turn into New York, right? So you have to become informed. And I tell you this like that because who knows how long I'm going to be here, right? Because we've seen, I've been attacked many times. I've almost been taken out many times, right? There's the wifey's going to start to. So you're like, oh, Mike, she's going to do the grilling? Yeah, because I'm doing the work here. I'm going to get in trouble for that. So we're going to, I grill too. I cook too, guys. Come on. I made juice earlier, fresh juice. So, and I'm going to cut the watermelon. So I do my part. I clean up sometimes. So anyway, Carolyn Levitt confirms White House is looking into Kentucky parole board's release of brutal child killer. Kentucky Democrat governor, right? So you would think that Kentucky is quite a red state. Evidently not so much. All right, here's the gentleman right here And I say that he's a monster, really, not a gentleman. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt has confirmed the White House actively investigating the Kentucky Parole Board's decision to release Ronald Extance, the man responsible for the horrific 2015 stabbing death of 6-year-old Logan Tipton. There was a day in the past where if you committed murder, you were behind bars forever and maybe even executed, right? Well, look at this. The murder occurred on December 7th, 2015 in Versailles, Kentucky, when this man, 38, broke into the home of the Tipton family in the middle of the night. So this man had no prior connection to the family, randomly selected their house and proceeded to stab the sleeping residents with a butcher knife he found in the home. Logan screamed as he was murdered in his own bed, a scene witnessed by his terrified sister, Dakota Tipton, who was also assaulted. Dakota, then 12, described the horror in chilling detail. Exanthus stabbed her in the back, stomped on her head, and flung her across the room. She awoke to see him killing her little brother. Logan's father, Dean Tipton, confronted the intruder and was stabbed before being thrown 10 to 15 feet. According to reports, Exanthus told Dakota during the attack that he intended to kill every member of the family. Exanthus was arrested at the scene. In 2018, after a trial, a jury found him not guilty of murder by reason of insanity, but convicted him on assault charges related to the attacks on Dean and Dakota Tipton. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison. However, due to good behavior, education credits, those liberals love that education. They push that education, don't they? And time served, Exanthus was granted parole and released on October 1st of this year, a few days ago, after serving approximately 8 years. Okay, so he's criminally insane, so you don't try him for murder, but you try him and give him 20 years in prison, and he's out in 8 years? Does anyone see a problem here? Well, the White House did, but can the White House cover all of this? This is insane, guys. I can confirm the White House is looking into this. It's wholly unacceptable for a child killer to walk free after just several years in prison, Leavitt wrote on Saturday morning. It's like almost every state is effed up. Like, what the hell is going on? All right. There's no constitutional states anymore, it seems like. There's corporate states, and they profit off of crime. That's why they send these people back into the streets. That's why they have transgenders in bathrooms, or boys that identify as girls. If this ever happened, I remember when I was in high school, if this ever happened in high school, that kid would never come back to that high school if he survived, right? So yeah, it's, and I grew up in Columbia, South Carolina, but even there, I'm sure it's changed.
Hello, I'm Leslie, and I'm a junior here at Esperanza High School. And the reason why I started this.
Now, Esperanza is in California. I'll get a little bit more information. Anaheim, California. So it's like, where are the men? Where are the men in California? I guess there's not any.
Walkout is because a couple weeks ago I went into our girls' bathroom and I saw that a man was in there. And I asked him when he was there, and he told me, "Oh, I identify as trans. I'm a girl." So I immediately reported it to the school admin, and I asked why there was a male in there, and then I reported it because I did not want boys to be in there. And then after that, they told me that they would review it with the district and they would act upon it. And they later told me that that student, the male, was allowed to go into the girls' bathroom. And that felt really...
So they said he was allowed to go in the bathroom. So the students, I guess probably with some mama bears, have basically started protesting. And so this is what you're seeing right now.
Really unfair to me as a female. I felt vulnerable, and I just got scared because there's many cases where females have been taken advantage by males as they have a physical advantage over females. And because of that, I decided that I was not going to let what the district say keep allowing this injustice. So then I decided to start a walkout, and then I reached out to Sonia, Sophia, Leandra.
So these girls got together and they started a walkout, and they're getting publicity, which is great. Unbelievable. So I guess the women are going to stand up for this one because the men aren't. Anaheim girls stage walkout. Boys don't belong in girls' bathrooms. Duh. But the school board in California are allowing that, right? So let me share the screen so you can see, some of the written word here, because it's disturbing, really. Students say privacy violated. As a young woman, like she talked about, who has used the girls' bathroom my entire life, I was now being asked to step aside. It didn't feel fair. It didn't feel respectful. It felt like my concerns and the concerns of other girls were being overlooked. Administrators told Ledissima and others that if they were uncomfortable sharing the restroom with a male student, they could use the nurse's office instead. Everyone deserves dignity, she said. All right. Family members speak out. When we allow transgender individuals who are born male to use the girls' restroom, they can make many, many girls feel uncomfortable and unsafe. Restrooms are places where we expect privacy, and mixing males with females can make awkward situations lead to harassment and bullying. So her younger brother, Eddie, I feel for this guy. He's obviously got a pair. Good for him. A freshman at Esperanza added, restrooms are supposed to be private and safe. But when a male student goes in a girl's restroom, it doesn't feel that way anymore for the girls here. It creates stress and discomfort. As a brother, it is very hard for me to see my sister struggling with this, especially when I can't fix it for her. That's why I'm speaking up. This isn't about hate, it's about respect. Lawmakers, school officials criticized. All right. So obviously, students demand change, parents demand change. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? The girls stood up, the boys stood guard. All right. So you're seeing that they are actually, helping out. So we have girls and boys standing up. Where the frig are the parents? Are they scared of this corporate deep state political thing, which is no longer for we the people? Obviously, it's for the government. It's for the corporate government. And we, as citizens, no longer have rights. They give us rights when they feel like they want to. And if we get out of line, like these students are, they're going to push back. All right. So we are sovereign beings given inalienable rights through God, Constitution. And at our discretion, we elect political figures to basically work for us. Now they turned it around. They turned it around. We need to take it back. All right. So, it's getting pretty crazy out there. It's going to get crazier, like I said. It's going to continue to get much, much crazier, right? And if people don't start to push back, it's all over. It's all over for America. Pretty much like it is for Europe, right? Will the people of Europe stand up? Well, the people of America can easily stand up, and we have guns to support that, right? But I guess in some places like California, where they started taking gun rights away and all kinds of other stuff, I guess the latest thing is you can't have a laser. They want to take away lasers on guns, so you can't shoot accurately. So California wants to take away, you can't have magazines other than like maybe 4 or 5. I don't know how many rounds. I'm like bullshit or whatever. And they're taking away sights, lasers, and so forth, so that you can shoot accurately. So if someone invades your house and tries to kill your children, and you break out your gun, all right, guys, lots of love. Stay in the love vibration. Go check out Jordan Maxwell videos. He's got a lot of good stuff out there. You're going to learn a lot from him. All right. And we'll see you guys next time.